Dear delegates, I thank Ms. Poonam Bajani, CEO of InnoVentures Education and the DIAMUN 2021 Student Leadership Team for inviting me once again to address all of you today. It is my privilege to share my thoughts with you, all of you, bright young minds and youth leaders, on the theme of this year's DIAMUN Conference, Responding to Crisis in Pursuit of International Stability. This theme is especially apt given that we're still fighting one of the greatest crises of our generation, the COVID-19 pandemic. Just over a year ago, the idea of a global pandemic rested firmly in the realm of scenario planning, science fiction, Hollywood movies, a real possibility, but not an imminent threat. Fast forward to the present day, and close to 2.5 million people have lost their lives as a result of COVID-19, with more than 110 million cases reported from every part of the world. No one has been immune to this pandemic. Worryingly, these numbers continue to grow by the day, despite efforts to control and contain the transmission of the virus. Outside the sphere of public health, the COVID-19 pandemic has also transformed our societies, changed the way we live and work, and drastically affected the global economy. It has accelerated previous trends. Existing inequalities within societies have been deepened, and vulnerable groups are disproportionately affected by the pandemic and its effects. Based on an IMF study, the global growth contraction for 2020 was estimated at 3.5%, with the World Bank estimating that the global recession caused by the COVID-19 pandemic would cause over 1.4% of the global population to fall into extreme poverty. These far-reaching and devastating socioeconomic impacts have set back the 2030 agenda and the realization of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Dear delegates, despite the doom and gloom of the past year, the recent availability of safe and efficacious COVID-19 vaccines has brought great hope across the world. But the mere availability of these vaccines is not enough for the world to recover or turn the corner. We urgently need global commitment to vaccine multilateralism and the fair and equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. Singapore is a densely populated city-state reliant on international trade, very much like Dubai, is particularly vulnerable to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, both from the health and economic perspectives. This is one of the reasons why Singapore recognized the fundamental importance of what we call vaccine multilateralism. We recognized early on that this was a very important principle and concept to champion, to shape the conversation around the whole idea of cooperating on vaccines internationally, and we've been a vocal advocate for this concept in global forum. Singapore has been an early and consistent supporter of the COVAX facility. The COVAX facility is a global mechanism designed to promote equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. Singapore also founded a special group, a Friends of COVAX facility group, which we have co-chaired with Switzerland. The UAE is also a member of this group. And the idea behind this group was to catalyze discussions and generate support for the COVAX facility in its early days. The COVAX facility, which is basically an umbrella procurement and allocation group for vaccines internationally to match demand and resources, now has 190 participants covering an estimated 90% of the global population. The COVAX facility just recently delivered its first batch of vaccines to Ghana. So it's got off to a good start. The COVAX facility and its realization of its goals is an overwhelming demonstration of confidence in multilateral frameworks, as well as a strong commitment to vaccine multilateralism. Sustained political commitment and support will be crucial to ensure global access to these COVID-19 tools like vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics. Only then can the world begin to build back better as a global community. The fact that we've had vaccines developed in such a record time is already an achievement. But bringing the world together to ensure that all those who need to be immunized according to priority groups and making sure that everyone is safe and everyone is covered so that the whole world has been immunized and inoculated, that's the challenge of our times. In the 8 months since I last addressed the participants of DIAMUN 2020, we've all learned the hard way that purely national responses are simply inadequate in the face of a virus that does not need a visa, a virus that's a problem without a passport. This is true of many other global challenges and future crises waiting in the wings to enter and distort and damage our very precious reality. COVID-19, dear delegates, is not the first nor will it be the last global challenge or pandemic that humanity will face. If we do not collectively solve these problems and work for a globally coordinated solution each time they occur, and try to use global mechanisms to prevent them and preempt them from occurring, we will have a longer and harder road ahead of us, much more poverty, much more desperation, much less ability to bring people out of a difficult situation, to allow people like yourselves, the young, to realize their aspirations. The lessons of the past year are especially important for the young of today as you become the leaders of tomorrow in your respective fields. Let us learn the right lessons from COVID-19. I'm encouraged by your passion for these issues of global and even existential importance. I wish you, dear delegates, very successful and productive DIAMUN 2021 and an enriching experience over the next few days. Thank you, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.